The amber spoon hadn't served a customer past 9 in weeks, but the boy always came at 8:52 like something had wound him up and pointed him at the door. He'd push it open with his shoulder, never his hand, because his hands were always jammed in his coat pockets, and he'd walk straight to the counter without looking at anyone. And he'd say the same 4 words every single time. 1 grilled cheese, please. Roscoe Truett had flipped a lot of sandwiches in his life, but none of them ever came with the request that followed. The boy would set 2 crumpled dollar bills and a fistful of nickels on the counter, and then, quiet as a confession, he'd say it. 4 plates, please. 1 sandwich. 4 plates. Every Friday, for 6 weeks straight. Adela Marsh, who'd been pouring coffee at the amber spoon since before Roscoe's daughter was born, watched it happen the 3rd week, and finally said something. "Baby, you want it cut in quarters? Or you collecting china?" The boy didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just said, "Quarters is fine," and slid onto the stool at the far end of the counter, the one closest to the door, the one you'd pick if you wanted to leave fast. Roscoe watched him eat that night, watched him cut the sandwich into 4 uneven triangles, lift one to his mouth, chew twice, and set it back down. Watched him do this with the 2nd triangle, a 3rd. By the time the boy left, 2 full triangles sat untouched on 2 of the 4 plates, going cold under the fluorescent light, and the boy wrapped them in a paper napkin so thin you could see his fingers through it, and he walked out into the dark like he had somewhere urgent to be. Roscoe stood at the pass window with the spatula in his hand, doing nothing, for almost a full minute. He had a daughter of his own, 7 years old, name of Marlowe, asleep most nights in the back office, on a cot because the babysitter money had dried up around the same time as everything else. Marlowe's mother had been gone 3 years now, not dead, just gone, the way some people go, quietly and completely, like a light switched off in another room of a house you no longer live in. Roscoe didn't talk about it. He didn't have to. Larkspur Street was a small enough street that everybody already knew, and small towns have a way of letting silence do the talking. So when Roscoe saw a boy who ate like every bite had to be accounted for, who wrapped up food like it was something more valuable than money, something in his own chest recognized it. The way you recognize a smell from a house you used to live in. He didn't ask, not that week, not the next. But the questions piled up quietly behind his eyes. Why? 4 plates for 1 sandwich cut in quarters. Why? The boy never ordered a drink, not even water, like he was afraid the bill might round up. Why he always left at 9:14, not 9:10, not 9:20, the same minute, like his life ran on a schedule that couldn't bend. By the 5th Friday, Adela had a theory. "He's selling 'em," she said, wiping down the counter with more force than the counter required. "Some kid racket, wraps 'em up, sells quarters of a sandwich to other kids at school Monday, marks it up. Little capitalist." Roscoe didn't believe it, but he didn't have a better answer. And a diner that's 2 months behind on its propane bill doesn't have room to feed theories that don't pay rent. Still, he found himself setting an extra pickle spear on the plate. An extra napkin, folded, tucked under the rim like it might matter. The 6th Friday, the sky over Larkspur Street turned the color of a bruise by 4 in the afternoon, and by 7, it was snowing sideways. The first real snow of November, the kind that turns streetlights into smeared halos and makes a diner feel like the last warm room left on Earth. The amber spoon was empty except for 1 trucker, nursing black coffee by the window, and Adela, restocking napkin dispensers like her life depended on precision. At 8:52, the door opened, and the boy came in covered in snow, his coat too thin, his sneakers soaked through to a color that used to be white. "1 grilled cheese, please." A pause, longer than usual, like the cold had gotten into his voice too. "4 plates, please." Roscoe made the sandwich himself that night, and he made it different. Extra cheese, folded in twice. A 2nd sandwich he didn't charge for, wrapped separate, set to the side like it was an afterthought, though it was the least afterthought thing he'd done all week. The boy ate his usual 2 triangles, wrapped the other 2, reached for the money. "It's on the house tonight," Roscoe said. "Storm tax. Everybody eats free in a storm." The boy looked at him for the first time all night. Really looked. The way a person looks at you when they're deciding whether you're one of the trustworthy ones or one of the ones you have to be careful around. And something in his face loosened just slightly, just enough to let a small and tired boy show through the careful mask he'd been wearing for 6 weeks. "Thank you," he said. Then, quieter, almost to himself, "She's gonna be so happy. It's warm." He left at 9:14. Roscoe watched him go, and this time, he didn't stand at the pass window doing nothing. He grabbed his coat. Adela called after him, "Roscoe, it's a blizzard out there. You'll catch your death." But he was already through the door, already following a set of small, fast-fading footprints in the snow, footprints that turned off Larkspur onto Cutter Alley, past the shuttered laundromat, past the old grain mill with its broken windows boarded in mismatched plywood, toward a stretch of gravel lot where the town kept its dead machinery, a rusted flatbed, a stack of pallets, and behind them, half hidden, an old Buick with frost climbing the inside of the windows like something growing. The boy slipped in through the passenger door. Roscoe stood at the edge of the lot for a long moment, snow collecting on his shoulders, his breath fogging in front of him, his heart doing something complicated in his chest. Then he walked forward and knocked, soft, on the frosted glass. The door cracked open. A girl's face appeared, first 9, maybe 10, with the boy's same wary eyes, and behind her, wrapped in every blanket the car apparently owned, sat a woman who looked like she'd been carved out of exhaustion, and behind her, tucked into the crook of her arm, a baby, maybe 2 years old, sleeping with the particular stillness of a child who has learned that crying doesn't get warm food any faster. "Truett," the woman said, her voice a rasp. "Who is that?" The boy Truett stood frozen in the doorway of the Buick, caught between 2 worlds he'd been keeping carefully separate for 6 weeks. "It's the sandwich man," he said finally, "from the diner." The woman's eyes found Roscoe's, and there was fear in them, sharp and immediate, the fear of someone who has spent a long time being afraid of exactly this moment. Being seen, being found out, having the fragile thing she'd built come apart in front of a stranger. We're leaving in the morning. We've got somewhere to be. We're not staying here. This isn't." "Ma'am," Roscoe said, and something in his voice made her stop. "It's 14 degrees. Nobody's leaving anywhere tonight but my diner, where it's warm, and there's soup on the stove that's gonna go to waste otherwise." It took some convincing. Pride is a stubborn thing, especially when it's the only possession you have left that nobody can take from you. But the baby stirred and whimpered, and something in the woman's face broke at the sound, and she nodded once, like it cost her something to do it. Roscoe learned her name was Corliss Bellamy. He learned the girl was Unia, 10 years old, and fierce as a barn cat, and the baby was Amos, and Truett, at 9, had appointed himself the man of the family the day his father left them outside a gas station in another state entirely, and never came back for gas or family, either one. He learned they'd been in the Buick for 11 days, that Corliss had been a home health aide until the agency folded, that Truett had found the diner by walking the length of Larkspur Street until he found somewhere warm that didn't ask questions, and had figured out fast that one sandwich split 4 ways stretched further than pride would otherwise allow, and that if he ate his portion in front of people, nobody would ask why he was wrapping up the rest. Roscoe listened to all of it, standing at the stove, ladling soup into bowls, saying nothing, because there are moments when a person doesn't need advice or sympathy. They need soup and silence and somewhere to sit down. It was when Corliss took off her gloves to hold the warm bowl that Roscoe saw the scar on the inside of her wrist, pale, precise, surgical, and something in the back of his mind, some old locked room, creaked open just slightly. "You were a nurse," he said. "Not a question." "Still am," Corliss said, with the flash of the pride that 11 days in a Buick hadn't managed to kill. "Home health, mostly. Pediatric hospice, before that. for 6 years. Y'all Falls Memorial, over in the county seat. Roscoe set down the ladle. 6 years ago, he said slowly. My daughter had pneumonia, so bad they didn't think she'd make it through a Tuesday night. I couldn't get off work fast enough. Her mother was already gone by then, in every way that counts. And there was a nurse who sat with her, held her the whole night, so she wouldn't be alone when the fever broke, or didn't. And when I finally got there, that nurse handed her back to me like she was handing me back my own heart. And I never even got her name. Corliss went very still. You gave my daughter a stuffed rabbit, Roscoe said, his voice not quite steady now. Ratty thing, missing an ear. She still sleeps with it. Calls it Nurse Bunny, to this day. Corliss's eyes filled, and she pressed the back of her hand to her mouth. And for a moment, nobody in that diner said anything at all, because some coincidences are too large to fit into ordinary words. And this was one of them. Woman who had once held a stranger's dying child through the worst night of a father's life, now sitting 11 days deep into her own worst nights, in the very diner run by the man whose daughter she'd saved and never met. I didn't recognize you, Corliss whispered. I'm sorry. I didn't. There were so many rooms, so many nights. Don't apologize, Roscoe said. Not to me, not ever. That was the night everything turned. Though the turning wasn't loud or dramatic, it was Roscoe picking up the phone and calling his cousin, who managed the extended stay motel out on Route 9, and asking quietly for a favor. It was him calling Bell Falls Memorial the next morning and speaking to an administrator he happened to know from church, explaining that a woman who'd once given 6 years of her life to that hospital's sickest children needed a hand now. And wasn't it about time the hospital remembered her name? It was 3 weeks of quiet arrangements nobody saw, because Roscoe Truett was not a man who did things to be seen doing them. But it wasn't simple, and it wasn't fast, and it very nearly went wrong. 2 weeks into the motel stay, Corliss collapsed in the bathroom at 4 in the morning, and it was Truett, 9 years old, small and terrified, who ran the 6 blocks to the diner in his socks because he didn't own boots, pounding on the glass door until Roscoe woke on the cot in the back office and came running. At the hospital, they found what? 11 days in a car and months of skipped meals and unpaid checkups had let grow unchecked. A heart valve weakened, worse than it should have been for a woman only 34 years old. An infection sitting on top of exhaustion, sitting on top of a body that had spent every ounce of its strength keeping 3 children alive and had nothing left over to keep itself alive too. Roscoe sat in that waiting room for 11 hours. He held Truett's hand through most of it, and Eunice's through the rest, and he held little Amos against his shoulder while the boy slept. Not because it was his place to, but because there was no one else's place to do it. And some rooms in life don't wait for the right person to show up. They just need somebody. When the surgeon came out and said the words, "She's going to be fine," Roscoe put his face in his hands and wept in a hospital waiting room in front of 3 children who were not his own, and none of them thought it was strange, because by then, they all understood something true. That some people save you back for exactly the same reason you once saved them, even if it takes 6 years, and a snowstorm, and a sandwich cut into 4 uneven triangles to bring the debt due. Corliss came home, not to the Buick, not to the motel, but to the small apartment above the Amber Spoon that Roscoe had been meaning to rent out for 2 years and somehow never had. Like some part of him had been saving it without knowing what for. She started behind the counter that spring, once she was strong enough, pouring coffee alongside Adela, and something about the diner changed with her in it. Got warmer, got fuller, the way a house does when the right people finally live in it. Truett still comes to the counter sometimes at 8:52, out of habit more than hunger. Now, he still orders 1 grilled cheese. He still asks, quiet as a confession, for 4 plates. But now, when Roscoe cuts it into quarters, there's a 5th plate too, set at the counter beside his own, because Marla likes to sit with Truett while they eat, the 2 of them swinging their feet off the tall stools. Not talking about the winter that brought them together, just being two kids in a warm diner on a cold street, which is its own kind of ending. Nobody could have written better. And some nights, long after closing, Roscoe stands at the pass window the way he used to when the mystery was still a mystery, and he watches Corliss lock up the register, and he thinks about how the whole thing started with 4 empty plates, and one small boy trying to make almost nothing feel like enough for the people he loved, and how it turned out that almost nothing, given by the right hands, was exactly enough to save them all.
4 plates, 1 sandwich, 1 family saved. It is proof that even in our darkest, coldest nights, someone out there is willing to open the door and let us in. I hope this story stays with you. If this story moves you, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs a reminder to be kind.